Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I'm from the Institute of Banking and Finance, and I'm delighted that you're able to join us today for this IBF Masterclass, jointly organized with Eagles Flight, where we will look at how change leaders can inspire a growth culture for success through mindset shift. We have a very exciting and engaging session today led by Mr. Andrew Thomas, Regional CEO of Eagles Flight Asia, and Mr. Luca Dilana, who is an anti-fragile organizations consultant and author. Before I invite them both to share more about Eagles Flight and today's session, allow me to do a very brief intro about IBF and the resources for finance professionals in Singapore. IBF was established by the MAS in 1974 as a training provider to provide functional training for the financial industry. Since then, our role has evolved into one of standard setting for financial services sector skills and competencies. Since August 2018, we also expanded our mandate to cover career advisory and job matching functions for the financial services sector. We have thus adopted an integrated approach to skills development and jobs for the financial services sector. Here's a quick look at our services and how we support the industry across training, recruitment, and workforce transformation. You can find out more about our services and connect with us on any of these areas via our website. We've also put in place enhanced training support for the financial industry to further alleviate training costs this year. The enhanced course fees subsidies are part of MAS's support package that was announced in April last year to sustain and strengthen capabilities in Singapore financial services and fintech sectors. The aim of the enhanced training support is to encourage more companies to send their employees for training and upskilling so that they are in a better position to help the company move forward. For the rest of the year, we have raised funding support for training to 95% across the board for all FTS and IBF STS programs, subject to prevailing grant caps. Funding quantum will be reduced to 90% next year in 2022. You can find more details on the enhanced training support on our website. In addition, IBF will also be supplementing the commercial training available for free webinars during the support training needs of the industry. Financial professionals can also tap on the Learn at IBF mobile learning app for bite-sized learning at your own leisure. All these are complimentary and are accorded with CPD hours. And that concludes my short intro. I'm just going to hand over the time to Andrew.
You are very kind, Nicole. Just making sure that everybody can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Ria, lovely. Luca, thank you very much indeed. My name's Andrew Thomas. I've got some of the team of Eagles Flight that are joining us today. We've also got Luca Dilana that's joining as well. And I want to thank you very, very much for blocking out 2 hours and thinking, okay, I'll go and listen to what's going on that IBF webinar about mindset shifts and inspiring growth cultures. And we're going to try and do that in an hour and 50 minutes or something. Now, I should actually say that obviously it is a massive subject. You will have a lot of knowledge already. We're not going to undermine your intelligence by saying that in just over an hour, you'll get all of the answers. It's a skimming of some of the knowledge that both Luca and Eagles Flight that we're able to bring together. We hope that that skimming, it's the best bit, it's the cream that we're taking off the milk that we're going to be able to give you today. I will say that the session we've got for you involves some participation, and we're going to be moving you off out into smaller breakout groups. One of the things that we think always is very, very important is that you get the opportunity to meet other people. You get the opportunity to share some of your thoughts and ideas, and not just take everything that that we might be talking about, but consider that in context of what you feel and think, and what others are feeling and thinking as well. I'm just going to share my deck there so that you can see that. So that'll just help me stay on message, stay on course. Now I've put up there on the screen, you'll see where are you living today. So I'd like you just to have a look at that computer screen and just think for a moment. Where am I? Are you in busy beehive? And come on, Andrew, hurry up! I haven't got much time. I've got so many other things that I need to do. Are you in Curiosity Caves? You know, that's it's kind of interesting. I wonder what's going to be going on today, what they're going to be talking about, and what I'm going to be expected to do. You might be in Positivity Peak as far as the world is today, and if you are, absolutely fantastic. Now, the reason why I put this slide up and the reason why we start with this is that when it comes to change, which I think everybody will agree, every organization is going through, some of it planned, some of it not. We're living through this, hopefully, post-pandemic environment that we've been thrust into involuntarily. But there's also change in the industry, there's change in processes, there's change in structures. Very, very quickly, very, very easily, that change can become structured and formatted and presented in terms of timelines, new processes, when we're going to implement things based on Excel spreadsheets. The big message that Luca and I and the rest of the team will have for you today, and that we'd like you just to contemplate and think of, is that first of all, change is messy. And it's messy because it's aligning all of the mindsets that go around change. And if, as anyone involved in change, if you aren't able to think of, this is what we need to achieve and why and when, but then consider that in the context of where is the mindset of everybody in the company and how do we move them along and keep their engagement to go through the change, then the change that you're going through will either fail or at best take many times longer than it needs to take. So what I'm going to do, and we're going to start off with this, getting a little bit used to the idea of us going out of this main plenary room, going into smaller breakout groups, and those smaller breakout groups will be of 5 or 6 people. And when you are in those breakout groups, what I'd love you to do is I'd love you to turn on your camera, because it's a smaller group, so we can all connect with the 4 or 5 other people around us. My colleague Jem, who will just be this voice from the dark that will come through, she's going to help move us into those pre-assigned. They're all randomly selected, so who you turn up speaking with, it's organized by Zoom, not by us. I promise you today as well, one of the other things, we're going to push you a little bit when we come to thinking of what does it mean, growth mindset, and how do you have the right mindset to be able to embrace the change that's going on around us. And what are some of the skills. We're going to push you a little bit into that, but I promise you, you will never be embarrassed. You'll never be doing something that doesn't have direct value to why you've signed up and why you've given us your time. And on top of that, you're going to be able to meet and talk with some other people. So my colleague Jem is going to move us now into these smaller groups. When you're in the smaller groups, I got two challenges for you. One is based on that map of where are you living, just try and think where you are. And that's just as a little bit of a conversation starter, but just also appreciating that not everybody in your room is going to be in exactly the same position. There are different biases, different pressures, different outlooks, different needs that you'll be bringing to your group. The second thing is, I need you, before the 5 minutes is up, to give yourself a letter between A and F. So Luca might say, oh, I love B, I want to be B. And I might say, hey, Andrew, I want to be A. So we'd be letter A and letter B. And other people in our group would be C, D through to F. So that's all I want you to do. Enjoy meeting a few other people. Jem was, I should ask, sorry. Jem, are you ready to move everybody off?
All set.
Ah, lovely. We're going to move you off 5 minutes. Enjoy meeting some other people.
Hi, everyone. For those in the main room, I'm moving you to your respective room. Hi, Aurelia. Kindly go into your room. I've moved you.
Hey,
Yes,
sorry,
Laura.
I'm supposed to help them in the breakout room. Not now, right? It's later, isn't it?
Yes, later.
But they're all quiet. No one's speaking, and all the cameras are off.
You're on mute, Lorraine.
Yeah, you're right. All the cameras are off. Can I just check? Do I just click the room to go to another room?
As you're
Or
a
do I have-
co-host, you can join any room.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Eric, Samson, as in ours, Eric. Eric, is that you?
And for those in the main room, I'm moving you to your room.
As in, it's Eric, as in Eric from Connect.
Kindly go to your respective rooms. For those in the main room, I've moved you in the breakout.
How's it going, Jem?
There are a number of people logging off, and
I
then
know that. my group, I went from 5 people, and as soon as I said, hey, turn on your cameras if you can, you don't have to, but how are you? Yasuko, are you well? It's like a one by one, they're like logging off. It's like, no, I can't speak. There we are. So IBF,
There are participants in the main room.
Great, good. Who's still in the main room? I'll talk to them. How are we? Who's still in the main room?
Yurong Fang is here. So
Hey, Yurong, can't you get into a room? Maybe not. Why hasn't Yurong been able to move?
You should probably just logged in.
yeah, she just logged in. I can't find her under unassigned.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, Yurong, how are you? Celestine, how are you? Connecting on audio, got connecting on audio. Celestine, how are you? Okay, I'm going to just jump into one of the other breakout rooms, make sure they're okay. I'd managed to clear breakout room number 1. I'll see how I get in breakout room number 2. See you back soon.
Closing the rooms in 3 seconds, Andrew.
You see the deck okay, Jem?
Yes, Andrew.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, welcome back. I think everybody is back now. Is everybody coming back, Jem?
Yes, everyone's coming back.
Lovely, thank you. Hafiz, how are you? Good to see you. You're on mute at the moment. Got you on mute there for a second. I don't know if you may not be able to come off mute. I don't know if in the big room you may not be able to come off mute, but I tell you, it's lovely seeing you. Thank you very much indeed for having your video and good seeing it. I hope you had a good conversation with some people in your room. Terrific. Hopefully some of you got to have a little bit of a conversation with others in that breakout room. You will be going back and you'll be meeting them again, the same people. But before we get in and hear what Luca has to say and why mindset's so important and how that mindset attitude is impacted so much, I've got another question for you. I've got another task for you, if you'll be so kind. This one, you only have to go into chat and drop your reply in chat. But as you'll see there on your screen, there's a chart 0 to 10. And 0 is as it relates to your attitude to change and embracing change. 0 is, oh, I hate it. Mid-level 5, it's kind of like, yeah, I tolerate change. And 10 is, wow, like bring it on. You know, I run towards change. So what I'd like you to do now, just go to chat. So if you go to the top of your screen, chat will drop down. That's where it is for me, at least, but you'll find it either at the top or at the bottom. If you can go in and just put a number in there. Where are you? What's your attitude to change? Wow, yeah, fantastic. I'm getting some coming through. 7s, 8, 7, 7. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, there was a 3 there. I'm not going to call you out. Don't worry. 9. 8, fantastic, brilliant. 8, brilliant, lovely. Keep it coming. Thank you very much. 8, 8, 8. Well, 8's lucky. No, I'm not going to call you out, but a 1 that's there. 7, a 6. Thank you very much indeed. A few more, give you 5 more minutes. 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, okay. Thank you very much for that. Most of you came in around 7 or 8. The thing that I would say to you is that, and again, you'll have to determine this for yourself, but typically when intellectually we think of change, yeah, we read about it all the time. We know it needs to happen. We know that it can be good for our careers. We know that there are going to be new opportunities that we're going to be presented with. Intellectually, it's always very easy to come back, and we come back and say, yeah, I'm a 7 or I'm an 8. Emotionally and behaviorally, we are completely the opposite. So if you came in around 3, or somebody there was putting a 1 and a 2, actually, emotively, you are absolutely spot on. And the reality is that for everyone, even the 7, 8s, and the 9s, emotionally, we are down in the 3s, 2s, and 1s. And the reason for that is that most of what we do in every day, we are geared behaviorally for survival. And you know what? Change is the polar opposite of that. Now, the reason why that's important, the reason why I gave you the where are you living today, and the reason I give you that scale of where are you in terms of your attitude of embracing change, is that the program that Eagles Flight has, which is accredited by the Institute of Banking and Finance, one of the things very early on that we introduce and have a conversation around is that a lot of the time in organizations where change is being implemented, the senior leadership will go away and think and talk and debate and argue and storm out, but come back eventually with consensus around what needs to happen to the organization. It takes a lot, wherever you are in the company, whether you're the very, very, very senior in the company, it takes time to get you through the change curve of resisting change. First of all, denying, ignoring that there could be anything that you'd have to do that would be different, to then actually resisting it and feeling that you're not being understood, to us finally getting on board and understanding our role in this change agenda, and then becoming a champion of it and accepting it. And every single person has to go through it. We all talk about resilience in today's world, but stress and resilience, if you think of it, in that denial stage and that resistance stage, we are under enormous stress. It's the reason why, in terms of, you think of it, just how much is being said around mental well-being and mental health these days. It's the reason why, because of the last year and a half, 2 years that we've been going through, that now is front of mind. Well, the same thing is happening in your company when it is going through change. And where we started off, most companies are going through change at the moment. Now, as leaders, either as members of the team, becoming advocates of the change and supporters and getting on board with the change movement, or you as a leader, team leader, mid-level leader, frontline leader, senior leader, wherever it may be, the role you play, absolutely crucial, absolutely invaluable. And that's some of the thing that we're going to be talking about. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you over to Luca Delana. Luca knows Singapore very well. I'll let him say whatever he wants to say. Luca is fantastic, lovely at presenting, concretizing and presenting visual things for us to be able to reference and relate to around this complex topic. He is a highly acclaimed, well-published author, researcher, and change consultant. Luca, over to you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Luca Dell'Anna, and today I will give you 3 catalyzers for change. And to introduce the first one, I will begin with a question about toothpaste. Did you ever wonder why almost all brands of toothpaste have a strong mint flavor? The mint flavor does nothing towards keeping your mouth clean, but it does provide that feeling of freshness that keeps you hooked on the habit of brushing teeth. Imagine if toothpaste didn't have the mint flavor. You would brush your teeth one day, feel nothing, then you brush your teeth a second day, feel nothing, and then you start having the doubt that your efforts are going to waste, and then you just stop brushing teeth. Conversely, with the mint flavor, the first day that you brush your teeth, you already start feeling some effect, and you get some feedback that you're doing something good for you, and therefore you keep doing it. And because you keep doing it every day, then it allows the other real tangible benefits of the toothbrush to kick in, of the toothpaste to kick in. And the same applies to organizations. Whenever organization, they ask their people to do something new, to adopt a new core value of changing the way that things are done, people, maybe they start doing it the first day, but then if they have the doubt that their efforts are going to waste, if they do not receive early feedback that their efforts are not going to waste, then they will just stop doing it, or they will disengage. And that's rational. Like, why would you do something that you think that you do not have proof that it's leading to some tangible benefits? So this is the first of the three catalyzers we will see today. Give early feedback that efforts are not going to waste. And when I mean early, I really mean in the same day, in the second day, not like 1 week later or 1 month later, like many change initiatives do. Because if, let's imagine that next week, Monday morning, you have a meeting with your team and you tell them to do something new. And then your people, maybe they walk out of the meeting and they start doing the new thing. And of course, it's going to be a bit effortful because it's new. It's something that they weren't doing before. You cannot wait even for Friday to give them feedback that you're noticing that their efforts are not going to waste, because by Tuesday, they will already start having the doubt. They say like, oh, I'm doing the new thing, but nothing is really changing and it's a lot of effort. So maybe I should just do the old thing, or maybe I should not put as much effort. And that's why it's so critical that you give early feedback, almost immediate, that efforts are not going to waste. Now I will give you 3 practical examples of how you can implement this practice in your organization, in your team. The first one is that you catch your people doing something good, doing the new thing that you ask them to do. So back to the previous example. Monday morning, you have the weekly team with your meeting, the weekly meeting with your team, and you're telling them that there is a new procedure or that there is a new way of doing things. Already that morning, you should take a walk around the office, check your team, what they're doing. And if you spot them that they're doing the new thing, you should tell them thank you. You should tell them great. You should make them notice that you are noticing, so that you do not leave any fertile ground for them to think that their efforts are going to waste. The second thing that you can do, that doesn't apply to all cases, but when you can, it's very powerful. If you can have some dashboard in which you can show some visible metric about the effects, about the impact of the new thing that your people are doing, then do it. If, for example, you can show that people wearing a safety helmet is leading to a reduction in incidents, do it, show it, and make sure that you update the dashboard very, very often, because feedback must be early. If you change the data in your dashboard only once per month, maybe because you have a monthly report, that's not going to be enough, because by the end of the first week, people will already start wondering, are the efforts that I'm doing mattering? And then the third thing that you can do is that if the new thing that you're asking your people to do has some tangible impact on people, it could be the customers, it could be other people in your company, then you should make them know. For example, if you have a new way of designing your product or of greeting customers, and you start and customers love it, and you start getting good reviews, you should get those reviews and show them to the people whose efforts produce those impact. And so one thing that I would do, for example, would be first time that a new product is out, I would already start going, collect some feedback from customers, call people, and then take that feedback and give it to the people who worked hard for it, just to show them very early on that their efforts did matter, that change wasn't trivial, that the efforts we ask you to do for a purpose, it has a purpose, and it's real. So this was the first of the 3 catalyzers. Give early feedback that efforts aren't wasted. Think about your change initiative as if it were a toothpaste, and think, what's the mint flavor that I can add to it? Now let's move to the second catalyzer, which is capillarity. Let's think a moment about our blood circulation system. We all have a heart that is pumping blood into our arteries. But then the arteries, they divide into smaller and smaller capillaries. Why? The reason is because blood cells, they can only exchange oxygens with muscle cells which are close by. And the same applies for change in your organization. Change, transformation requires closeness. People will not trust a change initiative that has been that is driven only by people who are far away. For example, the CEO that they never met. It doesn't mean that the CEO shouldn't, for example, make a company-wide announcement, send a corporate email to show very clearly what the company wants and to show that the company is aligned. But it means that it's not sufficient. People also need to know about change from someone close by that they can trust, that they have a regular two-way relationship. Because put yourself in the shoes of a line worker, of an office worker in your company, and you receive a corporate-wide email from your CEO about some change that's going on in your company. You might have a lot of questions, such as, does the CEO really care? Does the CEO really know about our job? Does the CEO really know about the problems of our customers, and so on? And maybe the CEO really does. But if there is no closeness, people might not trust. And that's why it's super important that instead change is also driven by people who are close to those that you want to change. For example, middle management, supervisors, and so on. Because people know and trust, hopefully, that their supervisors knows about their job, knows about their problems, has their best interest at heart, sees them as people and not as numbers on the spreadsheet, and so on. So this was the second catalyzer, capillarity. Adopt a capillary structure to drive change in your company. And I will go almost as far as to say that a common thing about all companies that I've seen that they're trying to drive change and they fail very often is that they lack this capillary structure. Now, again, I will give you 3 examples of how you can involve those close to those that you want to change. And the first one is, of course, involve a middle management. Middle management can become your capillaries. They are the ones that know those who will put in action the change, and they are the ones that you need to drive change. The second thing you can consider doing is training middle management. Because one thing is involving middle management just by telling them, oh, you should also communicate change to your team. And another thing is training middle management on how to do it. Training on how to communicate change, on how to answer questions, on how to provide early feedback, which was the first catalyzer, on how to handle objections, on how to handle problems, and so on. And then the third thing you want to do is to set very clear expectations with middle management about what constitutes driving change. For example, you want to make clear that just regurgitating an email is not communicating change. you might want to make clear that giving feedback to the people once a month or once a week might not be enough, especially in the initial phases of driving change and so on. So this was for the first catalyzer. But before we move to the third one, I want to give you one last story of how my boss used to do that. I used to work for a manufacturing company many years ago. And one day our boss and lot of managers and a few other people were flown to visit a plant. And we were staying in a hotel 15 minutes from the plant. And in the morning, our company rented a bus to drive us, the other managers, to the manufacturing plant. And the bus comes that morning, and my boss climbs first into the bus, and then he notices that there were no safety belts. And safety happened to be a core value of our company. So what our boss did is that he just sent back the bus to the rental bus depot, and he asked for a second bus to come with safety belts. And that took half an hour. And for half an hour, a lot of important managers of the company waited in a parking lot, basically not doing much. And that was a lot of financial cost. You can just think about the salary of about 16, 17 highly qualified employees doing nothing for half an hour. But it's exactly because it was costly that it sent a costly and thus powerful signal that our boss really believes in safety as a core value. That he doesn't only believes in it when it's easy, but also when it's hard. Not when it's easy, when it's cheap, but also when it's expensive. And that single action drove the idea that safety is a core value of our company very, very powerfully. And this, for example, might be something that you want to clarify with your middle management, whether they should also demonstrate with action that they really believe into the change that they're just communicated to their team. Okay, so this was the second catalyzer, capillarity, involve those close to those you want to change. The first catalyzer, I just remind you, was the mint flavor, give early feedback that efforts are not wasted. And now we move to the third and last catalyzer, which is what I call the corner. And this again comes from a personal experience of mine. A few years ago, I was consulting for another manufacturing company, and their warehouse was a mess. They had a lot of components lying all over the ground. And that was both safety hazard because people could trip on it, but it was also extremely inefficient because people would move slowly and it will take a lot of time to find the piece that you needed on the production line. And the operations manager was at a loss. He didn't know what to do. He told me that he's been trying for a month to get his people to properly stack the components on the shelves, but people were just not doing it. So what we told him was, for a moment, to forget about the warehouse as a whole and to only focus about one corner, the one next to the safety exit. And he will tell his people that that corner, that one corner, has to be completely free of components on the floor at all times. And then we told him for the next month, every time that you walk into the warehouse, first thing you do is that you look at the corner, and if the corner is empty of components, you thank your people, you make them notice that you've noticed. And if there are components on the floor, you stop them, you get the first worker that you see, and you get him to clear the corner immediately. So what happened afterwards? During the first week, the operations manager had to remind his people a lot of times that the corner was to be left free of components. The second week, things became much easier, and people learned the lesson by themselves that the corner had to be left free of all components. And then the third week, the magic happened, and all the warehouse was clear of components on the ground. And that is because habits require consistency. But once a habit is ingrained, people will apply it to all facets of their life or of their working life. And therefore, the one trick to drive the adoption of new behaviors is to focus on just one corner so that you can be extremely consistent in that corner and get the habit ingrained, because habits require consistency. If people do something correctly 99 times and then once they don't do it before the habit is ingrained, they don't do it, and the manager doesn't notice this, then people will be like, oh, the manager doesn't care anymore. Maybe my efforts mattered yesterday, they don't matter today anymore. And they will just lose the habit and they will destroy the good work that you've done over the past 2 weeks. So for the first 2-3 weeks that you require change, you need to be 100% consistent in giving feedback, thanking people when they do it and calling them out when they don't do it. But of course, I know very well that all managers are extremely busy and they don't have the time to be consistent on a lot of things. And therefore, to the next slide, the idea is that you make consistency possible by shrinking the scope of change. For example, you don't try to change too many things at a time. You focus on one single habit at a time. Or for example, you don't try to change the company as a whole, but you try first to change one office or one division, or even one team, or if that's not enough, even one person. But the idea is that the process that I've explained so far, the first catalyzer, giving early feedback, the second catalyzer, capillarity, driving change from close by, and the third catalyzer, being consistent, they require time. And everyone in a company is extremely busy, so you should shrink the change so that for those 2-3 weeks, you can be extremely consistent. And then the second requirement is that you should focus on a habit or on a behavior that can be observed as a glance. It cannot be something that you call that you need the reports to know whether your people are doing it and whether they're doing it well. Because reports, they take time. Maybe it will take 1 month for you to get the report. Maybe if your company is very fast, 1 week, it's still too much. Because again, people, maybe they do the right thing on Monday, but then if no one notices and if they don't get any feedback, they will just think that maybe their efforts are going to waste. And by Tuesday, they will have learned the lesson that they should disengage, that they shouldn't do the new thing. And when you come on Friday with your report, it's going already be too late. So these were the 3 catalyzers. Just as a summary, the first one was give early feedback that efforts are not wasted. Try to think about your change initiative, the new thing, as if it were a toothpaste, and ask yourself, what's the mint flavor that I can give? What's the one thing I can do that will provide people early feedback, immediate feedback that their efforts are not going to waste and they are leading to something? Then the second catalyzer was capillarity. Change requires trust and closeness. And therefore, you need someone who's close by to drive change. Involve middle management, train middle management, set expectations with them on what change means. And then the third one is the corner. Change requires consistency. And if you cannot do consistency because you're too busy, you shrink the scope of change. You focus on one single corner for 2-3 weeks. You're obsessively consistent on that, and then change will follow. So this was for the 3 catalyzers. And if you have any questions on them, on their implementation, if you tried something similar, it worked, it didn't work, we are here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Luca, absolutely fantastic. Thank you for taking us through and giving really sort of practical, I can relate to that, I can understand it, examples. And really the image that I have of the bus being turned away because it didn't have the safety belts on to reinforce a safety message. And like you say, how important it is to sort of live those values and live what's important, the behaviors when it's really tough and there's some financial stress, financial pressure. It's a little bit like the sort of Warren Buffett, you only ever know who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. So I really love that. Yeah, brilliant. So look, we are going to, and I think we're going to open it up for any questions. If you've got a question that you'd love to ask Luca, please just go into chat, type it down, just sort of bullet point of what you'd like to know. The team will flag me in case I miss it, and then I'd be more than happy to, if I may, on your behalf, ask your question, ask Luca your question. Whilst you're doing that, I've got a couple of things that, as you were going through, that kind of that got me thinking a little bit, and that is that, and I'm going to start off with where you got at the end, and I get the idea of shrinking, create, and isn't that the thing that that there is the change initiative that needs to take place, but at the same time we're running a business. And it's always reconciling that. How do we run the business, hit our quarterly targets, make profit and stay in business for this year and change? And so I really get the idea of shrinking it down to where you can focus. But how do you avoid, Luca, that I'll go with your factory example. How do you avoid when everybody is, or when the focus is only on one corner, that you inadvertently create a them and us of, oh, well, the change doesn't involve me, the change all needs to be done over there. So how do you avoid that from happening?
Well, there are a few things to consider on that. One small detail from the example that I made is that we didn't choose a corner at random. We chose the corner that is next to the safety exit. And that is a justification for everyone. It makes the decision relevant. It's not trivial, it's not arbitrary. Everyone can justify that. It's something that it's clear that it's also a benefit for the worker. It's a benefit not only for the worker that is next to the safety door, but everyone in the warehouse depends on that, and so on. So this already could be one starting point. Find something that is meaningful for as many people as possible, or at least something that's plausible to spend effort on it. Yeah. That would be the first thing. And then the second thing that you can do is that another detail that I made is that we told the manager that whenever he walks into the warehouse, he should get the first worker that he sees, or the worker which is closer to there. And that's another thing that clarifies that I don't care if you are not the worker which is assigned to that corner. We as a company, we care about keeping the ground clean, and it's a shared responsibility. A bit like trash on the ground and so on. Then, of course, there is one missing element, because I remember when I was studying in university, I used to have roommates, and there was a question of like, of course, everyone wants to keep the room clean, wants to keep the house clean, but I also don't want to be the only one doing it. And therefore, it's also like it's the manager's job to notice whether there are people who are consistently not contributing, or they're consistently using destructive behavior and so on, and calling them out. Of course, gradually. So the first time, you don't want to put them on the spotlight. You want to say like, I've noticed that you're not doing this, or I noticed that you're disengaged. Is there a reason why? So first time, you don't assume that you're right. You assume that they are right, or that they know something that you don't know, but you want always to drive them to the action that at the end you want. So like, is there a problem? Then we fix the problem, but then you clean the warehouse. And this is like a kind of constructive build-up that you can have.
Right. So it's not it's not done punitively. It's actually encouraging the right behavior all the time and encouraging the positive behaviors. And I think it's you know, I always Luca, I always talk about, and I was fortunate enough to meet him, Rudy Giuliani, of when he was the New York City mayor, and he, you know, New York City at that time, terrible, wretched, had a bundle of problems, and how he picked on the subway, cleaning the subway trains, because it was a sort of shrunken representation of the bigger New York City, and everybody sort of touched it, related to it, and it was a profound change when they saw that change taking place there on the subway. It was kind of like, wow, the vision we have for New York City, it can happen on a bigger scale, and we can all make a difference. So it's kind of the way I sort of relate to that. Absolutely lovely. So look, let me just go into chat. Something did pop up in chat. Let me see if I've got a question. Thank you very, very much indeed. This from Kunal Shandapuri. So thank you so much, Kunal. How do you remain motivated if you're embracing the change alone? Right, okay. So and so that might be, and I'm going to sort of, if I may, Kunal, I'm going to build on your question. That might be, which is always something that whenever we're running our workshop, it's where mid-level leaders will turn around and say, well, I don't see that in my senior leaders, so why should I do that all the time? Or as Kunal was putting there, when it's personal change that needs to take place.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because at the end, almost all these change initiatives, even if they are not personal, they become personal to you in a component, because there are some things that you should do them yourself, and you should treat them as if they were a toothpaste. So you should think, how do you give yourself a mint flavor? How do you give yourself early feedback that what you're doing works? And I have this concept of meta practice, which is practice your practice. So the idea that I have is that, let's imagine that you're practicing on how to shoot a basketball. When you practice, you should not only practice on how to put the ball into the basket, but you should also practice how you're practicing. You should ask yourself questions. Am I getting enough learnings from my practice? Am I getting enough motivation from my practice? Am I getting enough feedback that my practice will lead to good results? Because if not, you will quit your practice. Mm-hmm. And you should keep iterating on the way that you do the practice, so that you get all the feedback that you need. And the answer might be, for example, in the example of basketball, it might be, oh, maybe I should take notes, maybe I should record myself, maybe I should engage a coach, or something like this. And the same applies to driving change, but if you are the only one. Mm. The question is, maybe you make yourself a small plan on the 3 actions that you will take next week. And then you should ask yourself, how will I get feedback from those 3 actions that I'm on the right path? And well, you could have different answers, and maybe you're very internally motivated, or maybe you can ask you things such as, maybe after I tell my people on Monday that they should do it, on Monday afternoon, I will already start looking if people are doing it. And if people are doing it, I will already try to see if it has any positive impact on the bottom line, on client satisfaction, and so on. That could be an option. Or another option could be, oh, I will talk to my mentor. And maybe you have a mentor or a friend or even a colleague that can tell you, like, yes, what you're doing is on the right path, will bring results, and so on. So it's something that you can take ownership, and you can ask yourself, how will I get feedback proactively? And you need to consider that it's almost a rule. If you won't give feedback, you yourself, you will lose motivation. So you can try to look proactively for it.
Absolutely super. Kunal, thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope that's a good answer there. So a little bit of it is, and I know you always talk about the systems that you create around what you're doing, and looking for some validation and immediate feedback, the toothpaste minty flavor, and actually something positive, motivational along that, a bit of that journey as well, to sustain the energy along it. Lovely. Look, I've got one more question, Luca, and that is that, and again, we are all sitting at the moment, I don't know any company that isn't wrestling with this, thinking about how has the world, the way we work, the world of work changed. If you think back, a lot of organizational change, the physical side of it, where people sit, where the managers are, the fact that they come out of their corner offices and we're all sitting together. What are the posters that are up on the wall? What am I met with when I walk in the office? All of those physical symbols, really, really crazy important and big catalysts of signposting the change. Now, I don't know, we've got 100 people that are joining us today. A lot of those people, some are sitting in Ang Mo Kio. So I'm in lockdown in CBD because I'm doing my hotel quarantine. We've got other people that are sitting over in Bukit-Timah. We've got wherever they may be, and they're sitting at home. They're not in an office. And we don't know for next year yet just how that will change. So how have you found these principles and the notion of making concrete, making measurable, having focus? How has it changed in a world where your employees are no longer going in to that physical office? They may be spread out all over the place, and I may never physically see them from 1 week or even 1 month to the next. What do you got to say to that?
Yeah, it's a very important question and very relevant one. And I think that it just makes these concepts even more important, because when we were all sitting in an office, it was much easier to just walk by your colleague, see what they're doing, have a small chat, immediately give some feedback. And right now, instead, those feedback cycles, they tend to be much longer. Maybe you don't know what your colleague is working on until they make a report or a presentation, or they share a bit of final product with you 2 weeks later, for example. And that, what happens then? What happens a lot of times is that someone, like now that we move online, someone is given a task, they work on it for 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, and then they go back with the manager with some milestone or some semi-product and so on. And then maybe the manager notices that there was some misunderstanding, that they didn't really understood, or maybe the manager wasn't clear and so on. And then they tell the person, and then the person gets very frustrated or loses motivation because they are like, what? I spent the last 5 days working on something that now I need to rework. And that's damaging to the morale of the team. And the solution is to be extra clear beforehand. You need to do what I call front-loading clarity. You need to be clear before it's necessary. Because if you are more clear than necessary while giving a task or while explaining an objective, people will not lose motivation. If you give feedback to people that they misunderstood something 30 minutes after you give them the task, people will be like, oh, okay, thank you for telling me. If you tell them 5 days later, they will be like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me earlier? I wasted my efforts, and they will lose motivation. So that's why, especially now that we're moving online, it's even more important to be clear beforehand about what you need, what you want them, how success looks like, how good work looks like, how bad work looks like, and so on. And I always tell some of my clients that if there is something that makes them angry, even if it's irrational, they should tell their people. Because if their people do that thing, the manager will get angry, if it's irrational or not. And if he gets angry and he didn't tell people not to do that thing before, people will be like, why are you angry? You didn't tell me, you're irrational, you're a bad boss, whatnot. And so just be clear beforehand. If there is something that makes you angry, even if it's irrational, just put it on the table so that people know about it. Yeah. So make clear.
Perfect. And that was Kunal had another follow-up question, and I think you've answered it there, Luca, in this, and it was with regard to how long do you wait before you can go into another change initiative, modify what you've been doing, and I'm going to say that from what you said, my understanding would be, and back to Kunal, if you're giving ongoing instant feedback, and you've been very clear from the outset, it isn't a vacuum of feedback and information, and then suddenly, oh, we've modified it, we've changed it again. It's more of a sort of evolving process rather than a shifting from that to something else.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And just to build on that, and thank you again, Kunal, for the question. There's one reason why it's also so important to give early feedback. It's also so that you as a manager, you notice if there is a problem. Because maybe there might be a problem that you didn't think about, and it's a sizable obstacle that is making it painful for people to do the new thing that you ask them. And maybe you can just remove the obstacle or change something. So that's important, that you are flexible. If you are flexible on the how, because if you give an objective and you notice that the how has to be changed a little bit so that it becomes easier, then do it. However, you should be flexible on the how, not on the what. Because if you keep changing what the change initiative is about, then you pass the message that change initiatives in your company are ephemeral. That maybe people put efforts for 2 weeks and then you will completely change it and the efforts go to waste. So you should avoid that. And just to conclude, it's better, like the one reason why the corner works is because the corner, you start focusing on one part of the company. Maybe you start the change initiative, not across the company, but on your one team. And that's great also because you get feedback from that implementation. You notice if there are obstacles before it's too late, and you can make the change easier, that resonates more, that is more natural, when a few months later, you drive it to the rest of the company. So it's a progressive iterative approach.
Yeah, look, David's come and David shared in the group about the due to the pandemic, the speed of change. People are finding it hard to cope, and there are split operations. The question, David, that I'm going to take from this, and I hope that I'm shaping it in my question to Luca correctly, and that is that a lot of what we're talking about here is the time it takes and the patience to allow everybody to understand how the change is going to impact them, and creating reference points that can then be heroed out across the wider organization. Is there a danger in today's digitally driven need for speed to value world that organizations run the risk of undermining all of their change because their operational plan for change is fundamentally working against what people need to be motivated and get behind the change?
Yes, I think that there is some maximum speed of change across which if you go too fast, you get problems. And the problem, in my opinion, is not much because people have trouble changing too many things. Yes, that as well. But it's also because those things that I've talked to today, which is necessary for change to crystallize, giving early feedback, capillary approach, consistency, they require time. And you won't have time to do everything. And that's why my advice, is possible, would be to choose a maximum rate of change, which is what you can afford with feedbacks and so on. Now, I know that this sometimes isn't possible. Sometimes you just get changes which are so drastic, such as with the pandemic, that you cannot say, whoa, let's slow down. Because with the pandemic, everyone in 1 week moved offline. So usually 2 things you can do to mitigate these. The first one, again, is to give feedback to people that, yes, change is being a bit messy now. Yes, times are harder, but it's normal and things will get better. And then the second thing is that you explain why things will get better. Because if you just say things will get better, people will not really trust you unless they worked with you for 30 years and you have a history of always delivering. So you should always also give a roadmap, such as, yes, this is messy. We know that you're having this, and this problem. And next month, we're going to tackle this, and so on. Having a roadmap makes people much more serene. They make them handle stress better. They make them know that they are not the problem. It's just the situation. Everyone has it, but there is a path towards a better future soon.
Fantastic. Luca, look, I've got to thank you very, very much. Thank you for sharing that. It's always lovely. I enjoy reading your books. And I always love hearing you talk, and again, always so important to take lofty theoretical models and ideas and stuff that everybody talks about, bringing it down into the, okay, yeah, I can relate to that and I can understand that, and making it very human, and you do it amazingly well. So thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay. We're going to get into a crazy part. So I hope you enjoyed that. Cindy, I think you were, was it Cindy? You were asking a question are we going to be able to get some of this material? Well, you will see in everybody's, I say everybody's, in the Eagles flight team and Luca, you'll see a QR code. Aren't we used to QR codes these days? You're going to be able to scan the QR code. And in that, if you want information, if you want some of the slides that we're sharing today, and importantly, if you'd love to have a conversation with Luca and I and hear a bit more about when we work with companies and some of our experience that we've been through working with people on change, that is your path to being able to do that. So scan the QR code. You'll be able to just pop in there a way of getting in touch with you, and then we'll certainly come back with you on that. But we are sharing some follow-up as well. Right, what I want to do is, as I mentioned earlier on, Eagles Flight has a leading change program, and the idea really is how do you actually lead in change rather than lunging from one point of change to another, and the change more driving and directing what you as individuals, your teams, your organization that you're doing. That program, it's accredited by IBF, so it has funding. You will find it on the IBF curriculum. We take all of the ideas that we're sharing in today. The beauty of and what we tried to do with the program and thinking about it was that at the senior level of organizations, there is often the time and past references to be able to, for the senior leadership team, for them to be able to get themselves through the change agenda and be able to get something down on paper. Where there typically becomes a sticking point in an organization is when that can be that high level change agenda of where we need to go as a company. It gets cascaded down, it gets communicated in an all employees town hall. Let me tell you the change we're going to go through and why it's so good for you. It gets cascaded down and suddenly teams are presented with this idea of, they sort of understand where the company's going, but there are more vacuums and there's more fear and there's more, am I going to keep my job, that goes with it. And of course, the people they go back to, Lucas capillary thing is they immediately turn to their manager. They don't go back to the CEO in the town hall meeting, and they don't ask questions in the town hall meeting. They go to the manager afterwards and they say, so what does that mean? What does it mean for me? And from all of the work that we've done, the pressure that those frontline or team leaders are facing, especially at the moment with everything else, is absolutely colossal. Very much the point that Luca made. There is an element of becoming comfortable with the ambiguity, the messiness of change, being comfortable to saying, look, I don't have answers to that, but here's what we can do, and here's what I can do for you, and here's what I'm going to go and try and find out for you. And a lot of the time for those managers, giving them the confidence and ability in their communication, not only to communicate with their teams, but also sometimes up the hierarchy to be able to go and get the information they need to be able to support their teams in the way that they would like to and that they need to as well. Apart from trying to make change concrete and to be able to operationalize it, the other challenge that we're all facing these days is that, and it's certainly something that I've seen throughout my career, and that is that, and it started as well, I think, with, I actually saw it with digital marketing. I remember once I was at a conference and I happened to be moderating a panel, and it was the CMO of one of the big FMCG companies, and they had it was a new baby product that they were launching, and they were launching it into China. And the CMO was explaining what they were doing and how everything had changed for them. The plans that they originally had of how they'd rolled it out in other markets, when they got to China, they were tearing it up. And he was speaking passionately and very openly about just how challenging that changing of all of the marketing plan and the brand positioning and everything else. And I said to him, I said, wow, sounds like a really challenging time that you're going through at the moment. When do you think you'll have kind of like, we've got it. We're now in a business as normal. Whew, we can start applying some of the old ways of working, the ways we used to work. And he took a moment and he said, I don't think we'll ever get to that place. I think that as we reach the current need as it's defined, I think that the marketplace will have changed, the needs of customers will have changed, the way we'll be marketing, the channels we're using, they will have changed as well. And I see that very much when we're working with organizations, that the change used to be more finite. Oh, we are going from this to this. So, again, I mean, Kunal, one of your questions that you were asking there of, how do you deal with the speed element, and how quickly can you introduce other elements? To Luca's point, explaining up front and getting people to understand the idea that this is the new state that we're working in, and attitudinally, we've got to be accepting of ambiguity when it exists, but have it explained to us why that ambiguity exists, because there's a less defined end point than ever before. Very much everything that we've been talking about as well, the key point that we're always referencing is that a lot of the time, the mindset during change is that individuals previously highly engaged with the organization, giving so much of their time, and think of it as well, the fragility that exists coming, again, hopefully, and I know it's not the case for everyone in every market, every situation, but hopefully coming out of the pandemic, the spiky bits that we're surrounded by, and it's like, whew, thank goodness that's behind us. And then, oh, you mean to say now the organization's changing, and we're going to have to come up with new ways of working, new ways of doing things. And a lot of the time, employees can feel very, very lost, very vulnerable within that environment. Of course, the opposite of that is where somebody was highly successful leading up to that change, where they feel they haven't been involved in the change, the decisions any of the decision making that's been made, nor are they getting their questions answered. Ooh, and it feels they're very, very frustrating. At a time when companies realize the need to be able to support employees as best they possibly can, and at a time when we're all always looking for the best employees possible and to attract, retain, and have high levels of engagement from our most valuable employees. Obviously, these two states feeling very lost, or alternatively feeling not listened to and being forced to change and not understanding why. Times of enormous vulnerability where the best people, and how often do we see this, the best people you lose out of the door. And so the profound importance that exists with leaders to feel that they're in a position that they are supported by the organization and by senior leaders to lead themselves well, and to be given the tools, to be given the encouragement and the space to be able to reflect and get their heads around change. But also they are empowered and they are able to lead their teams. I am going to give you a framework, a high-level framework, but it's a practical one, and I hope that the balance of what you, in the conversation that we had with Luca, you'll be able to see how this feeds into these 5 buckets that we're always talking about. The need to, you've got to, that vision, it's got to be as concrete and as relevant to me, relevant to the company, yes, but relevant to me and motivating to me as possible. So harnessing that vision, because otherwise you've got nothing to reference back to and nothing to have your roadmap to keep sustaining people through. It's like, why am I going to go through the tough bit if I don't believe where we're actually trying to end up? Defining expectations again, but just taking the time to do that. The virtual environment working against us sometimes because it's harder. People have to schedule a Zoom call to have a chat, say, or a virtual platform call to say, oh, I didn't quite understand. I was doing this, and what do you want me to do now? And who am I reporting into? And what does that mean? Those conversations don't happen naturally in the way that they used to. Communication, how you communicate. Well, we spent a lot of time talking about that. And again, it's not the mug and the poster. The mugs and the posters have a bit of a role with it, as a little bit of it, but the intent that goes behind that communication, how important that is, and giving people the skills, because it's requiring. I know we're going to, in a minute, we're going to push you even further, and it will feel a little bit uncomfortable for some more than others, but we're going to give you a communication challenge to just give you a sense. Again, please don't be embarrassed by it. Don't be worried by it. Don't shut it off. I know it's a little bit different to most webinars, but it will just give you a sense of, wow, how am I able to communicate around something that needs clarity? I need to get support, and I need to communicate an idea with conviction. I might not really understand the differences that are being presented to me, but I know that I need the team to get behind this. So we're going to give you an experience, because in all of our workshops, we always work it on in a psychologically safe way, creating the opportunity to feel and understand why things are so important. Identify for oneself any gaps, and then give tools, frameworks, ideas, discussion that will have to help people to be in a position where they like, yeah, I can go and do that. So communicating, optimizing impact. We could have had Luca, I know, another conversation around this. It always amazes me of how everyone will always say, oh, I am so busy. And then there's change on top of this. But then when it comes to actually stopping doing things, during change, whoa, the reluctance to, it's like, yeah, I know we need to stop doing some things and we need to do different things, but I shouldn't be the one stopping doing anything. It should be Luca. He should stop doing his things and other people, you know, so actually getting people to understand it's not undermining you to stop doing what you were doing, but we need to move forward. There's the opportunity to embrace a new way of doing it, combined with the knowledge that you had, will be even more successful. And how do you get people to understand that? And how do you identify what you're going to stop and start, and what you continue doing, but not just in a laundry list of priorities, but also thinking in the dimension of time. What do you need to happen sooner rather than later, because it in itself becomes a catalyst to other parts of the change initiative. And then finally, sustaining energy. How do you, when change is going to take, I don't know, 18 months, realistically, it's certainly not going to be next month. And when there are going to be things that will get in the way and people will be tripping over themselves, how are you going to actually sustain energy through that change? So that's at the core of a lot of what we're talking about. The program is, and I've said it's accredited. It's about making that mindset shift. There are tools like a blueprint tool that we work on together that then gives individuals confidence to be able to go and create their change blueprint with their teams, co-create that. That in itself becomes inspiring and gets buy-in and answers a lot of questions, to being able to have time to share with others and understand, oh, I thought it was only messy for me. I thought I was the only one that felt that way, and just how reassuring that that can be in the workshop. But here we go. Just checking here on time, and we're good on time. So here's what I've got for you now. Deserted debate. So we thought we were going to be here on this webinar. Well, I hate to say it, don't ask me how, but we are all stuck on a desert island. We are stranded on a desert island. Obviously, the key thing, we're focused on survival and getting off the island as well. Survival and getting off the island. Now, there are three things that we've got. They are one-time use. And those three things are a flint, match, a flint, some striking tool to create fire. The other thing is a knife. We've got a one-time use knife. And the third item that we have as well is that we've got a net. Now, I asked you before, so if you can just have a look at what's on your screen now, I asked you to come up with and give yourself randomly, give yourself a number. Oh, sorry, a letter, not a number, a letter. So if you gave yourself A for Andrew, yeah, I gave myself A, suddenly my sequence is match, net, knife. So I have to think that of these one-time use items, the order that I believe that they should be used in for us to survive and get us off the island as well should be match, knife, match, net, knife. And what I need to do is I need to convince the other people in my breakout group that my sequence is right. Now, it might be that Luca, he gave himself letter D, so he believes that the sequence, and he has to build his pitch around this. It is knife, match, net. So what we want you to do, we're going to send you off for a total of, I'm going to send you off only for 10 minutes. So it's going to be fast and furious because I only want you to get the idea of this, but we're going to send you off for 10 minutes. in a few minutes, and I would recommend that you make it about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. You just take your sequence, whatever it is, and you just try and think what is and it can be funny, it can be serious, it can be whatever way you want to do it, but a way that you are in the maximum of a minute, you are able to communicate to the other people in your group that your sequence is the right and the best sequence. And you take it in turns to go through the group. When you've gone through, you've each shared your pitch, you've had your pitch, then see if at the end of it that there is one pitch out of the 2, 3, 4, or 5 pitches in your group that you've heard that is most compelling, where you turn around and you say, yeah, I thought it was net knife match, but hey, you know what, after I heard what Luca said, I can see that it should be whatever. Or after I heard what Andrew said, I actually believe I'm going to vote for whatever letter. So have a bit of fun doing it. There's nothing particularly logical about it. But go, and so we'll send you off for 10 minutes. Take the first 2 or 3 minutes, try and think of your pitch. What's it going to be? Then take it in turns, go through A, B, C, D, E, F, if there are 6 of you, make your pitch, vote on the one that is the most compelling pitch in your group, and have fun doing it. So Jem, if you'd be kind enough, if you can send us off, that'd be absolutely fantastic. 10 minutes.
Hi, everyone in the main room. I've moved you to your respective rooms. Yes, Andrew, you're on mute.
So in the breakout room, people can't unmute themselves.
Oh, but earlier they're able to talk.
That I don't know. That I know. But Audrey's just said, I can't unmute myself.
This would be in Hi, King Chua.
I don't think, yeah, they're not muted on my side here.
Are they all talking?
Because if that's the case, then we will be unmuting them. This is us asking them to unmute.
Hi.
Hey, King Chua. Hi.
King here. I'm from room 6. I was pushed into room 9, so that's why I came out.
Yeah, yes, we are just redistributing people because some rooms don't have enough number of people.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Just
I
take
thought it was a mistake.
just take a letter, any letter you'd like. Have fun with it.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, then it's maybe that group. I'll go back and I'll see if.
So which sorry. So in this case, how many rooms do we have right now, Jem?
17, but there are like some 3-4 people in it.
Okay, because the
There-
reason why I asked is mine was 21 to 25. So
Just
I'll
going going
check
anywhere.
who's.
Laura.
No. So if there are people, our guys are in there, I'll just go where they're not. We don't need double of us in each room.
Hi, Tilo and Michelle. Sorry, I can't find you. Okay. Found you, Michelle, moving you again to room 1 and then back to room 2. Hold on.
We'll go to room 11.
Okay. Hi, Tilo. I've moved you to room 17. Hi, Laura. There are 17 people, and yeah, a lot of people are dropping out. So,
The room I went into, they're talking, which is great.
that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay.
Lovely. We're getting some good conversation across the people in the rooms, which is so lovely to hear, and a little bit of laughter as well. So I think we're achieving what we set out to do. That's good.
Okay, great. Eric is handling one team, which is great.
Fantastic. All right. Let me just go and have a look. What?
I'm just there was one person in the team, and I said to her, look, if your team's not talking to you, you just figure out your story and you learn the story.
Yeah.
And you tell how you want to tell it.
Good idea. I'm going to go to room 5. Let's see what's happening in room 5.
Room 13 has only 2 people. Oh boy, I'll go there.
Hi, John and Linda. Are you done with the discussion in your room, room 9?
Oops.
Jem, we're good.
Okay, absolutely fantastic. Everybody is back. I'm just going to call up there we are. You should be able to see it again. So here, I was in 2 or 3 of the breakout rooms. I want to thank you very much. There was some good conversation that was going on. A big dose of discomfort around this, of like, what exactly do you want me to do? What are we meant to be doing here? And I know that. So the discomfort, we're not being Machiavellian in pushing you in that way. It is it's the notion that, and it comes back to some of the things that Luca was talking about, some of the things that I was talking about earlier on, of the importance of that communication and the importance of harnessing a vision. That a lot of the time, most of the time, if we think of it, there need to be facts, and there needs to be logical explanation of why. But the things that we are captivated, so if you heard any stories in your breakout rooms, I guarantee you that it will be the stories or the pitch that captivated you because it created a picture. You could relate to, yes, the important information, the credibility of the information, but you could relate to the picture that was created as well. So I'm just going to give you a little example of this. This will mean far more to Kunal and Von and Cindy, I think, who are in my or one of the breakout groups that I was in. But we were talking about, and one of the views that was shared was, you know, the information needs to be shared logically. There needs to be, and so logically it has to be match, net, knife, because the match you can light fire, the net you can catch something, the knife you can kill something. But what if I told you the story and I said, what we didn't realize, here we are on this deserted island. We thought it was deserted, but it's not. If you look over to the right, you see that peak, you see that mountain range there. Just the other side of that, there are headhunters. And I've just found littered on the beach some bones, and I think they're of the last group of people that were stranded on this desert island. It is imperative that we have, first of all, security. We've got to have the knife first before anything else. Those headhunters come over that mountain range, we've got to be able to defend ourselves. Now, I don't know about you, I am starving. And I also noticed that there were fish that were swimming, and there were some lobsters that I saw swimming. I don't know about you, but I'd love some tuna, and I'd love some lobster that we could take. And actually, I've heard that the fresh sashimi that we can have, I say it's to die for, but we don't want to die with the headhunters. The final thing is the match. I mean, of course, tonight when the sun sets, we need to keep ourselves warm. We will have defended ourselves. We will have eaten and our bellies will be full. We'll be able to keep warm and safe at night. And also, after we've set ourselves up for success, then we're going to be able to send off a signal, which is important. I agree with what the other people in my group were saying, that we need to send signals to passing ships, but we need to make sure we're alive first of all. Otherwise, that passing ship will be only coming here to pick up bones on the beach. That's why it must be knife, net, match. Now, so there for my team, and I know that won't mean very much to anybody else, but you maybe get the idea that we sometimes think about and we automatically go to the logic of communication. We go to the logic of talking about why the company is changing. We're going to be more profitable. Our profit margins will go up. We will beat our competitors. We will stay in business. We'll save costs here. But all of those logical things won't, when you are talking about creating a mindset to embrace change and taking your company on change. It will not be the logical elements, the logical, concrete sequences of things that will get actually everybody there to where they want to be. So what was Deserted Debate all about? And how does it relate to organizational transformation? Well, you know, if we were having working in as a team, thinking about, okay, where are there gaps in terms of what are we doing? How can we communicate around this? How do we make things very concrete? Exactly the same with for Luca, the idea that there may be long-term important benefit, but it's bringing that to life in a way that is very concrete, highly relatable, that I don't have to wait 18 months to finally understand it and see any benefit, but I can get benefit in the moment. So it's how do we, exactly as we were talking about before, how do we identify the minty breath freshness and the great taste from that? And how then are we going to communicate it? If we're thinking of harnessing our vision, is the company communicating just the logical side of harnessing the vision, why we need to go through this? Because I tell you what, and it's only from from what I've ever lived through, I always, whenever we're working with teams, I always explain that the only point of reference I can give you is I've worked in one company that went through change and I lost my job. I wouldn't say I got fired, but I was managed out, let's put it that way, because I wasn't willing to embrace the change, and I just couldn't get on board in the way that I needed to. Another change company that I've been in, I resigned and I left the company because I just could not believe in the vision. I didn't believe what was being communicated in the context of what we were being expected to do in the day-to-day, and what I knew would bring success from what I'd been doing. And I was never involved in conversations to be able to share that. And then the third example I've had is where I've led companies or departments through change. And I look back on it, and there are some things I'm very proud of. There are a lot of things that I've hung my head and I think, oh dear, and I hear Luca talking and I think, oh dear, I didn't do that and I didn't do that. And so it's really, really important how we communicate and how we connect and how we inspire a vision around things that we're communicating. That's crazy important. So if we were running a workshop, we would do this, and then it would lead on to the conversations that we would have. It might be about, well, how is the organization communicating at the moment? How are you communicating with your teams? How might you do it differently? What are some of the things that you could think about? So this, again, as catalysts, we use this experience. It's a bit of fun. It's not too serious about your company. It allows everybody of whatever level to get involved, understand the need to feel as well as think whilst going through the change, and be able to offer some ideas and thoughts around that. And it comes back to, I'll just give you another visual image. So much of it and everything that Luke has been talking about and everything that we've been going through today, it is about relationships. And we're always saying, think of your relationship pipe. You are part of a team. You are a leader of a team. You're a frontline leader. You're the CEO of the company, whatever it is. You have a pipe that is connecting to your constituents, partners, distributors, employees, team members, the other leaders in the company. And the bigger you can keep that pipe, the more easily information flows, the more understanding that there is, and the more trust. So Luca's capillary thing of making sure that a message is directly handed off from someone that they trust. What happens during change is that pipe, for many reasons, and again, we could have a conversation around this, and we would relate it back into the company. We'd relate it back to what are some of the things that metaphor of that pipe that is compressing it at the moment. And when that pipe is compressed, there isn't as much clarity of information. There isn't as much information, there's a clarity of information. There are vacuums that are created that people go and fill themselves. So either sitting alone at home worrying, or alternatively, psst, come over here. I bet they're not telling us this. This is really, I've heard what is happening. So really, really important. And the way of shaving off those spiky bits, which is everything that we've been talking about today, and which is the essence of leading in change, is how do I understand, not only from what I am thinking and what my knowledge is, but how am I understanding from others? Again, another thing Luca said, assume you're wrong at the outset. Assume it's you that hasn't communicated correctly, not that the others haven't understood it at the outset. So understanding change under the fear of change from their perspective, and then thinking, okay, what can I do as a leader as I'm trying to lead us, myself and the team through this change? What are the different levers that I can pull? What is within my power? Everything that you've heard today, and a way of going through that. And if it isn't within my power, how do I actually go and how do I seek from within the organization, from others, more senior leaders, architects of the change, how do I seek the information that is going to give me the clarity that's going to help me support and bring clarity for my team. And this, an army general, and I think it's kind of lovely. It goes back to, you know, change, there being less of an end point now. And this army general, he said, if you dislike change, you're going to dislike irrelevance even more. And isn't that true? So our hope is we've burnt up nearly 2 hours of your life today. I want to thank everybody very, very much for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed the conversation. We always love to hear lots of questions back, and we love lots of people chipping in. That isn't always possible with a big group like this, but we hope you take away something that's like, either it will reaffirm what you're already doing, and it's like, yeah, I knew that, but now I've got another story to tell, and I know that I know that. Or there might be, wow, you know, I'd never thought about that. I'd never looked at it in that way. Maybe you were sitting worrying about some of the change taking place in your company and you felt that you were out of step, and hopefully we leave you knowing that that's perfectly normal. Don't worry, you're normal to feel that way, but there are things that you can do for yourself. There are things that you can expect from your leader and expect from your organization. And we can all work together to create more clarity of understanding, a wider and a bigger pipe that will build deeper trust across the organization and a more successful change. Finally, I'd love to thank IBF. Thank you for creating this opportunity. Know that you work very hard for the industry. It's always lovely to have everybody come together. Like I said, there is the QR code that is there. If there's anything else that you would like to know, if you'd like to just have a bit of a conversation in a smaller group where we can make it two-way, we'd love to, because we'd love to learn from your stories and your experience as well. And thank you very, very much indeed for being part of your day. So wish you well, and I hope that our paths will cross again. Thank you very much indeed. See you again, I hope. Thank you.
Andrew, in the breakout room, one of the learners have a question, and we got cut off when Luca was trying to answer her question.
Oh.
I'm not sure if Cheryl is still around, and if Luca would like to actually take on the question and give her the insight.
You betcha. So Cheryl, are you there?
Yeah, Luca has already answered me because she replied in the chat already. Thank you.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much indeed, Sharon. Thank you for asking the question. Thank you for spending the time. Luca, well done on that. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you for your messages. Delighted that you were able to join us. Really, thank you, and hope you found it was fun, as well as that there was something to learn and take away from it. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks,
thank you,
Luca.
Flight, for the very insightful session. We've now come to the end of today's masterclass. You can stay connected with IBF via the following platforms. We'll be sending out the certificate of attendance within the next 5 working days. We will also add the practical guide from Eagles Flight into the email. And if you would like to reach out to Eagles Flight, we will probably add a contact as well.
You're wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. See you again.
Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Good to hear everybody's voice. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew, for the question. Thank you.
Great pleasure. Thanks a lot. Okay. Hi, April. April, April's gone. Audrey, hello. Audrey, I'm just gonna, if I may, I'm gonna be very rude. I'm gonna remove you, Audrey. Thank you for joining today. Okay. Okay. Is it just us now? I can't see.
We still have a couple of people inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to end the session.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Andrew. Thank you,
Nicole. Thank you
Abia.
so
Thank you,
much.
everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Well, Luca, I'll send you a mail because I don't know if we're going to be
Yes.
cut off now. I think we probably are.
Yeah, let's you guys can proceed
Yeah.
on, and I'll correspond with you guys over.
You're just saying go off and have your own conversation, not on our platform. Thank you so much for organizing it. I hope you enjoyed it. Really lovely.
Yes, it was really, really good. Thank you so much.
Great pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.